Educational authorities have said they are accelerating the adoption of AI in elementary school English lessons, including the use of digital textbooks and tools like ChatGPT to enhance students' interaction in English conversation.
교육당국은 초등학교 영어 수업 현장에서 학생들의 영어 대화 참여를 높이기 위해 디지털 교과서와 챗GPT 같은 도구를 사용하는 등 본격 AI 도입에 박차를 가하고 있다고 밝혔습니다. 자, AI를 도입한다라는 표현이 있습니다.
Yes.
To adopt AI.
Yes, so the adoption of AI, when you adopt something, you choose or you take in as your own, you accept it. So in this case, schools are adopting the use of artificial intelligence here.
Yeah, and with UN resolutions, oftentimes you hear a resolution has been adopted.
Adopted. In that case, it would be ratified or accepted in that case as well. Adopt, the primary definition would be in the case of parents adopting children, perhaps. So you're taking them in as your own. So similar meanings there. But here, schools are going to adopt or use or take in this new technology.
네, 여기서는 AI 도입의 의미로 adopt가 쓰였는데요. 같은 adopt더라도 맥락에 따라 좀 다르게 해석할 수 있습니다. 유엔에서 결의안을 채택했다라고 할 때도 adopt 쓸 수 있고 어떤 아이를 입양했다라고 할 때도 adopt를 쓸 수 있죠. 자, 그다음에 enhance students' interaction.
Enhance. When you enhance something, you heighten it or you increase it. So what they're increasing here is students' interaction. And interaction is when there's communication, work, sort of participation in an activity, perhaps. So what they want to enhance or increase through this adoption of artificial intelligence is students' interaction.
interaction, inter가 들어가면은 뭔가 주거니 받거니 하는 게 있어야 되겠죠.
It means within. So there's activity or action within or among students.
그래요. 근데 여기서 interaction은 그러면은 수업 참여 정도로 볼 수 있을 것 같습니다. 학생들의 참여를 높이다.
More than 3 out of 10 Korean senior citizens land low-wage jobs after retirement to help cover their living costs, according to a new report. And their poverty rate still remains high among OECD member states.
우리나라 노인 인구 10명 중 3명 이상이 은퇴 후 생활비를 충당하기 위해 저임금 근로자로 살아간다는 진단 결과가 나온 가운데 우리나라의 노인 빈곤율이 경제협력개발기구 OECD 회원국 중 여전히 높은 수준인 것으로 알려졌습니다. Slightly negative is the overall feel here. Now, if we talk about low-wage jobs, what sort of jobs are we talking about?
Right. Wages are, money received or compensation received for work or services. So if it's low wage, that means you're not receiving a lot of compensation for these jobs or services that you're providing. So you're doing for the bare minimum.
Yeah,
right?
For the bare minimum. Maybe you could even use the term minimum wage,
right?
even though it's a different concept.
그렇죠.
But wage is the money that you receive for the work that you do. 우리말로는 임금에 해당이 됩니다. 그래서 이제 최저임금은 minimum wage라고
Right.
하고.
Wage, pay, compensation, income, these are all synonyms, right?
그렇죠. low wage job라는 것은 저임금 일자리일 텐데 10명 중 3명이 이렇게 노년기에 생활비를 충당하기 위해서 저임금 일자리를 얻어서 일을 하고 있다. 자, 이런 보고서 내용이 발표가 됐고 And a lot of people do that to help cover their living costs.
Their living costs. So in this case, when they say cover their living costs, it's enough or sufficient enough to just meet a charge or expense, in this case, living costs that are required to live. So 생활비라는 얘기죠. Living costs.
아, 그러네요. living costs를 충당하기 위해서 cover라는 의미가 되겠습니다.
So it's not sufficient. It's not plentiful in this case. It's just enough. That's the connotation here to cover their living costs. So you could say that possibly many seniors are living paycheck to paycheck. Right?
그러니까 겨우 이렇게 생활비 정도만 커버한다. 그러니까 뭐 엄청나게 여유 있게 지내는 것은 아니라는 얘기죠.
It's just enough.
It's just enough, and they're living paycheck to paycheck.
World leaders have expressed their condolences to the families and the government of India over one of the country's worst train accidents that killed at least 288 people.
네, 최소 288명의 사망자가 나온 인도 최악의 열차 사고에 세계 각국의 지도자들이 인도 국민과 정부에 위로 메시지를 전하며 애도를 표했습니다. 이거부터 봐야겠네요. 애도를 표하다.
Yeah, you usually say this expression when there's an unfortunate accident, mostly fatal. And in this case, 288 deaths. So people are expressing or they're stating, they're uttering their condolences. And your condolences are your sympathies, just your thoughts when someone's in sorrow. And it's usually used in the plural. Especially when you're expressing sympathy. So you express your condolences. So if there's a death, you would say, oh, my condolences to you.
애도를 표합니다. My condolences, 복수, to you. 또 다른 표현은 만약에 이제 아는 분이 이렇게 상을 당하셨으면은 삼가 고인의 명복을 빕니다. 영어로 좀 심플하게 말하면 뭐 sorry for your loss.
Sorry for your loss.
이렇게도 말하죠.
Or I express my condolences.
I express
It's
my
a common
condolences.
expression, right?
네, 이런 표현들을 많이 씁니다. 자, 그 다음에 this was one of the worst train accidents in India.
It was. An accident is an unfortunate incident, usually unintentional, unforeseen, or foreseen, perhaps. You could argue that this accident may have been foreseen, but it is unintentional, and it was one of the worst train accidents. So it's a superlative of bad, right? So
그렇죠.
I think it was the worst in almost 30 years, more than 30 years, in fact.
Superlative, 최상급이죠.
네.
Bad, 최상급, worst가 나와서 train accident가 열차 사고가 되겠습니다. 교통사고 하면은 뭐 traffic accident, car accident 얘기할 수 있는데 열차 사고, train accident. 주말 내내 계속해서 사망자가 늘고 정말 너무나 안타까운 그런 소식이 외신을 통해서 전해졌습니다.
The Norwegian Electric Vehicle Association has reported that nearly 85% of new cars registered in the first quarter of the year are BEV, or vehicles powered entirely by electricity.
네, 노르웨이에서 올해 1분기에 등록된 신차 가운데 오직 전기로만 구동되는 순수 전기차가 85%에 달하는 것으로 나타났다고 노르웨이 전기차 협회가 발표했습니다. 여기서 BEV가 나오는데요. Battery Electric Vehicle의 약자더라고요.
Exactly. There are several types of electric vehicles. Ones that are entirely powered by battery, but there's also plug-in hybrids, there's hybrids, there's also fuel cell electric vehicles as well.
Yeah, exactly. I drive a car that says HEV, which would be hybrid electric vehicle.
Right.
But BEV is battery electric vehicle, and we're looking at purely electric cars here. Register a car? What is to register a car?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
when you register something, you enter it onto a list or some sort of database, or with the government, perhaps. Here in this case, when you register a vehicle, you do it with the automotive authorities. In Korea, 여기는 구청에 등록을 하나요?
저도 하도 오래돼서 기억이 잘 안 나는데 이제 신차를 구입을 했을 때 이제 그 등록하는 걸 말합니다. 여러분 알려주시면 되겠습니다.
네.
차를 저도 하도 오래돼서 기억이 안 나네요. 차 샀을 때 어디다 등록하더라. 자, 그 등록하는 겁니다. register라는 게.
And in the first quarter, so Q1, between January and March
네.
would be Q1, right?
네, 그렇습니다. Q1에는 이제 1, 4분기가 되겠어요. 그래서 1분기에 등록된 그런 차, 신차가 노르웨이에서 10대 중 8대나 순수 전기차더라. 굉장히 많은 사람들이 전기차를 이제 구입했다는 얘긴데 이제 비율적으로 봤을 때 powered entirely by electricity.
Yes. So if something is powered by something, that means it is, it has a specified fuel or prime mover to activate it. So here in this case, electricity powers these vehicles entirely. So 100% of the energy source is from electricity.
그러네요. Powered entirely 완전히 by electricity. 전기로만 구동되는 그런 전기차를 말하겠습니다.
South Korean baritone Kim Tae-han has won the prestigious Queen Elizabeth competition in Brussels, becoming the first Asian to clinch the top honor.
네, 벨기에 브뤼셀에서 열린 세계적 권위의 퀸 엘리자베스 콩쿠르에서 한국의 바리톤 김태한이 우승을 차지했습니다. 아시아권 남성 성악가가 이 대회 1위를 한 것은 이번이 처음입니다. 이 대회가요, 굉장히 명성이 높은 대회입니다.
Yeah.
It's very prestigious, or how do you pronounce it?
I pronounce it prestigious. Both are acceptable. Prestigious or prestigious. On the plane we have prestige class,
그러네요.
right? Business
네.
class.
네.
So it means that it is very highly reputable. It's very honorable. Other words, esteemed, distinguished.
그래서 보통 영어로 명문대 얘기할 때 prestigious colleges, or universities 이렇게 표현하기도 하죠.
그렇죠.
네, 인류의 뭐뭐뭐, 명성이 높은 뭐뭐뭐. 자, 그다음에 clinch the top honor.
Yeah, when you clinch something, you secure it. In this case, you're securing the top honor, which is the number one spot.
Yeah,
Right?
그렇죠. 1위를 했다라는 또 다른 말로 clinch the top honor라고 했는데요. 가장 높은 명성을 내가 잡았다.
확보했다는 거죠.
확보했다.
그렇죠.
네, 이게 바로 1위 했다라는 얘기예요.
Like the under-20 team clinched a spot in the semifinals.
That's true.
Right, after their win.
The average year-over-year price of ramyeon in Korea grew at the fastest pace in 14 years last month, indicating a significant surge in food price inflation.
지난달 라면의 물가 상승률이 글로벌 금융 위기 시기 이후 14년 만에 최고치를 기록한 것으로 나타났습니다. So the price of ramen, or the surge in the price, we're comparing it to a year earlier. Another way of saying this is the year-over-year price.
You can also say year-on-year. Sometimes you'll see that. It's just a way of, it's just comparing the a 12-month period from where a price was at the start of the 12 months and at the end of the 12 months. So each month you'll see it, right? They'll be like, this is for May, then we'll see June's prices at the end of, in early July.
전년 대비라고 하는 경제 용어입니다. year over year 또는 year on year라고 하고요.
Sometimes you see the short form on year. That's usually just in headlines and you never really see it in English articles, but you see it a lot in English Korean articles all the time, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, to be honest with you.
I see.
Because it's not the way native English speakers usually write it.
Well, economy aside, we could also use a variation of this to just talk about things that happen every year. So we could say year after year, year by year, and it looks similar, but of course it's not an economy term in that case. You could say year after year, we like to vacation in Gangwon-do,
Sure.
or year by year, my kids are getting taller and stronger and smarter, something like that. In that case, it just means 매해, or 해를 거듭해서 year after year나 year by year는 그냥 우리가 일상 대화에서 쓰는 거고요. But in economy news or just in finance and economy in general, 경제 용어로 year over year, year on year라고 하면은 전년 대비가 되겠습니다. Now, if it's any indication, we can see that food prices just keep going up, especially with ramyeon in this case. What's indicating or an indication? What's that?
Think about in your car when you're going to change lanes, you're going to make a turn, you hit that stick that makes the lights flash. That's an indicator.
A blinker.
Blinker,
or,
yeah, it's called your indicator as well. So you're showing or you're signaling something.
그렇죠. 방향지시등이나 우리 깜빡이라고 하는 거 영어로 indicator 아니면 blinker라고 해요. 깜빡이에 되게 비슷한 해당되는 단어가 blinker입니다. 우리 눈도 깜빡이 때 blinking 한다고 하잖아요. 그래서 이 indication이라는 거는 보통 무언가의 암시나 조짐을 나타낼 때 if it's any indication 이렇게 말하면은 이게 뭔가 암시한다 이런 의미가 될 수도 있어요.
Google's YouTube is gaining a strong foothold in Korea, with the number of its monthly active users catching up with the nation's dominant player Kakao, according to a new report.
구글의 유튜브가 국내 최대 메신저인 카카오톡의 월간 실사용자 수를 따라잡으면서 카카오톡의 국내 1위 입지가 크게 흔들리고 있다는 빅데이터 분석 결과가 나왔습니다. 자, 이거부터 좀 보고 싶은데요. 좀 입지가 흔들리고 있다라는 것과 상반되는 겁니다. 구글의 입지는 지금 굳히고 있는 구글이 그런 입지를 굳히고 있는 모습이에요. Google is gaining a strong foothold.
Right, a strong position in the market. Usually, like foothold, you can think of when you're like rock climbing or mountain climbing, where you put your foot so you can keep moving up. So really, when you see foothold, it just means they're gaining a strong foothold, it means they have a very strong position in the market.
Exactly.
If you might also see a company is looking to gain a foothold in a new market, so they're trying to enter that market and trying to establish some position so they can keep growing from there.
무언가 기반을 구축한다든지 아니면은 발판을 마련한다든지 할 때 쓰는 표현이기도 하고 여기서는 이제 카카오톡과 구글의 유튜브가 상반되는 내용으로 나오고 있죠. 물론 아직도 1위의 국내 최대 메신저가 카카오톡이기는 합니다만 2위인 유튜브가 지금 굉장히 빠르게 따라잡고 있다라는 겁니다. 월간 실사용자 수 면으로 봤을 때는. 그래서 구글이 이런 foothold, 발판, 기반, 입지 이런 것들을 굳히고 있다. 뭐 이런 느낌으로 보면 되겠고요. It's catching up very fast.
Yeah, it sure is. So if something catches up, or in this case it says it is catching up, so it's nearly reaching the same level. If it said it caught up, then it would mean it's at the same level. And it is, I got the numbers here, it is really, really close.
Very close. 네, catching up. 따라잡다. 라는 의미가 되고 있습니다. catch up 했으면 만약에 Google has caught up with 이렇게 했으면 구글이 따라잡았습니다. 인데요. 그건 아직은 아니고 it's catching up. 빠르게 따라잡고 있는 중입니다.
Saudi Arabia has announced it will make a deep cut to its output in July on top of a broader OPEC Plus deal to limit supply into 2024 as the group seeks to boost flagging oil prices.
오펙 플러스의 최대 산유국인 사우디아라비아가 다음 달부터 원유 생산량을 추가 감산하겠다고 발표했으며 오펙 플러스 주요 산유국은 앞서 결정한 자발적 감산 기한을 2024년까지 연장한다고 밝혔습니다. 네, 두 가지 발표가 나왔습니다. 우리 시간으로 어제 이렇게 발표가 됐는데요. 현지 시간으로는 4일이었고. 자, 첫 번째는 뭐냐면은 사우디아라비아 같은 경우에는 감산을 더 하겠다. 원유 감산이죠. 그래서 추가 감산에 대한 얘기를 이렇게 표현하고 있습니다. Make a deep cut into its oil output.
That means it's going to significantly decrease its output. You make a cut to something, you want to cut weight, you want to cut spending, you decrease it. And in this case, Saudi Arabia is actually going to decrease its output by 1 million barrels per day.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that in a short while. 그래서 여기서 cut라는 표현을 썼어요. 뭔가 줄인다라는 얘기죠. 근데 make a deep cut입니다. 그래서 많이 줄이겠다 뭐 이런 표현을 쓰고 있는데 이게 결국은 원유의 추가 감산을 말하는 거고 여기서 뭐 그 output라는 게 그런 생산량이 되겠죠. 자, 그 이유 중에 하나는 they want to boost flagging oil prices.
If you boost something, you increase it. And flagging oil prices mean the prices are weak. They're declining. They want prices to be stronger. They want prices to be higher.
그렇죠.
So they're trying to increase prices.
네.
That's what they're doing. You decrease supply, you increase price.
사실 소비자 입장에서 볼 때는 지금 유가가 잠잠하거든요. 그러나 이 산유국들의 입장에서 봤을 때는 이게 너무 좀 침체됐다. 올려야 된다. 이런 입장이에요. 그래서 flagging이라는 게 뭔가 좀 내려가 있다. 이런 느낌이에요. Flagging oil prices를 boost, 올리고자 한다라는 의미가 되겠습니다. 자, 그래서 이게 이제 어제 나온 첫 번째 발표였고 또 하나의 발표는 오펙 플러스 주요 산유국들이 이미 몇 달 전에 추가 감산한다고 발표했는데 그 기한에 대한 얘기가 어제 나왔습니다. 2024년까지 연장하겠다라는 얘기를 했어요.
An under construction 4-lane bridge over the Ganges River in Bihar state in India came crashing down on Sunday for the second time in a year, happening less than a week after the country's worst train accident in decades killed 288 people.
최근 288명의 사상자를 낸 인도 열차 참사에 이어 이번에는 인도 비하르주 겐지스강에 건설 중이던 4차선 대교의 일부가 무너져 내리는 사고가 발생했습니다. 네, 288명의 사망자입니다. 사상자는 그거보다 훨씬 많고요. 어제도 저희가 이 소식을 다뤘었죠. 근데 이번에는 다행히 사상자는 없다고는 합니다만 그래도 인도에서 한 다리가 갑자기 무너져 내리는 그런 사고가 있었습니다. 일부분이 무너져 내렸어요. So this was a bridge that was under construction. It's a 4-lane bridge.
That's right.
Tell us about what these expressions. What does that mean?
It's a bridge that's under construction.
Oh.
That's exactly what it
Okay,
exactly. I
okay.
think you just did the explanation for me.
Oh, okay.
It's used under construction as an adjective. That's-
공사 중이다라고 할 때 under construction이라고 하고요. 그다음에 4차선은 4lane이 되겠습니다.
If we want it under construction means it's being built. It's not finished yet.
네, 그렇습니다. 근데 이 다리가요. 그 올 초에도 이렇게 교각이 여러 개 붕괴된 적이 있었습니다. 이번이 두 번째예요. 이게 같은 다리만으로 봤을 때도. It's not the first time that this bridge has come crashing down.
No, this bridge
Happened
seems
earlier this year?
Right. Last year.
Oh, was it last year?
This bridge just seems kind of doomed to be honest with you. And if you like, I saw the video of it. There's video available if anyone wants to check it out. And you just see just part of the bridge. Some people thought it was an explosion. Some people thought it
Of
had actually
course.
been blown up, and it really looks like it.
Yeah, exactly. 지난해 4월이었네요. 이 같은 다리가 공사 중에 교각이 몇 개 쓰러졌었는데 이번에 또 다시 이 똑같은 다리가 여전히 건설 중이에요. 그런데 교각이 일부 무너져 내렸습니다. 그래서 무너져 내리는 것을 come crashing down이라고 표현합니다.
A woman in the U.S. has allegedly created and married her perfect partner, a virtual AI companion made with the chatbot software Replica.
미국의 한 여성이 레플리카라는 챗봇 소프트웨어로 만든 완벽한 AI 가상 남성과 결혼을 했다고 밝혔습니다. Okay, so she's married her perfect partner.
Right, she hasn't really done this though. Like this
It's
is
a virtual marriage.
right. It's a virtual marriage.
Still,
It's not real. But if you say someone's your perfect partner, that means they are the perfect match for you. Sometimes we refer to that person as your soulmate.
Yep, an ideal partner. 우리 이상형이라고 얘기 많이 하는데 사실 외국에서는 이상형이라는 컨셉 자체가 그렇게 많이 얘기가 되지는 않아요. 오히려 soulmate라는 표현을 훨씬 더 많이 쓰는데 나랑 정말 딱 들어맞는 사람이라는 뜻이 되겠죠. 근데 비슷한 의미로 perfect partner. 그래서 미국의 한 여성이 완벽한 자신과 너무나 잘 맞는 그런 사람과 소위 결혼을 했다라고 얘기를 합니다. 지금 계속 저희가 이 토끼 표시하고 quotation 하는 이유는 진짜 결혼은 아니기 때문이에요. 가상 결혼입니다. 자, 그리고 가상 남성이고 this person is a virtual AI companion.
Right. So anyone's companion can be a friend. It can be your spouse. It can even be an animal. Sometimes
Yeah.
people talk about pets
Yeah.
being great companions because they're a friend. They keep you company.
That's the term we use in Korea. We say 반려동물, which means companion animal. Instead of a long time ago, we used to use a different word. 예전에는 이제 뭐 애완동물이라고 했었지만 그런 표현 이제 쓰지 않죠. 반려동물이라고 하는데 the old term we used to use is more sort of like it's something I play with.
Okay.
It's kind of
Like
a
almost a
toy.
toy.
Yeah,
Okay.
almost. It has that connotation.
Sure.
And you own it and that kind of thing. But these days, people refer to pets in Korea more like someone you live with for the rest of your life, and it's a companion.
Like a
basically.
family member.
Family member. Yeah, exactly. 그래요. 그런 이제 반려자가 companion입니다. Virtual AI companion이니까 AI 인공지능의 가상의 그런 반려자, 뭐 동반자가 되겠습니다.
South Korea has won its bid for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, marking the country's third time serving as one of the 10 non-permanent UNSC members.
오늘 새벽 우리나라가 2024-2025년 임기의 UN 안전보장이사회 비상임 이사국으로 선출됐습니다. 이로써 10개의 비상임 이사국 중 하나로 이번이 세 번째 임기가 됩니다. 그래요. 저도 깨어 있었습니다. 오늘 자정에. 그래서 이제 나오자마자 속보를 봤었는데, 사실은 이제 이 아시아 지역에서는 우리나라밖에 후보가 없어서 당연히 될 것으로 생각을 했고, 또 당연히 됐습니다. 표현 한번 볼게요. Korea won its bid.
Right. So when you bid for something, usually you'll hear it a lot for the Olympics. It's when there's many, in this case, countries competing for something.
Sure.
You say that you want to do it. You kind of submit your proposal, why you think you would be the best candidate for this. And you either win it or you don't. And if you win, then you get that thing. You get to host the Olympics, or in this case, you get to become a member of the UN Security Council.
네. 이게 쉽게 생각하면은 어떤 시도나 노력이에요. 이 경우에는 비상입 이사국이 되고자 하는 그런 시도, 노력, 그것을 win했다. 그러니까 성공했다라는 의미가 되겠고요. 보통은 win a bid for something 아니면 a bid to do something 이런 형태로 씁니다.
In auctions, you'll hear it a lot too.
Sure.
Right, 'cause that's where it's used. You know, you bid
right.
at an auction.
맞아요.
If you have the winning bid, then you win that item.
그렇죠. 보통 이제 그 경매 얘기를 할 때 옥션에서 입찰에 응하는 것, 응찰을 bid라고 하기도 합니다. 자, 그다음에 to serve as something.
It means you're going to do that job.
그렇죠.
Right? You're serving as the host of this show and you've been serving as the host for a long time.
And you've been serving as the guest for a very long time. 자, 그래서 어떤 역할을 맡다, 어떤 임무를 맡다라는 뜻이에요. So South Korea will be serving as a non-permanent member on the UN Security Council, and this is going to be the third time.
KakaoTalk has announced that its Leave Chat Room Silently feature, released for beta testing last month, has been activated by approximately 2 million users as of May 31st, showing a strong response.
카카오톡의 단체 채팅방 조용히 나가기 기능이 뜨거운 반응을 보이고 있습니다. 지난달 이 기능이 베타 테스트로 출시된 이후 5월 31일 기준 약 200만 명의 이용자가 사용한 것으로 나타났습니다. 여기 이제 테스트 종류로 베타 테스트가 나왔어요. 영어로는 beta testing이라고 하는데 이게 뭔지 설명을 좀 부탁드리겠습니다. What is beta testing?
It's an opportunity for real users of a product to get to try out something, try out a new feature. I think it's just limited to a certain number of people, I believe.
So what it is, basically, a company will have alpha testing, which is within the organization. They test something. And then beta testing is for a limited number of users. And then that's the final testing that they do before it's actually out there for everyone to
Right,
use.
it lets them like uncover certain bugs or issues, get
Sure.
feedback from real users,
Yeah, exactly.
not just people within the company.
네, 그렇습니다. 알파 테스트가 있고 베타 테스트가 있는데요. 알파는 이제 기업 내에서 일단 먼저 테스트를 해보는 겁니다. 이것저것 해보고. 자, 그 다음에 이제 베타 테스트 단계로 갔을 때는 사용자가 직접 테스트 해보게끔 하는 거죠. 이게 어떻게 보면은 혹시라도 이 안에 버그가 있을지, 뭐 어떤 기술적인 문제는 없는지 확인하는 마지막 단계라고 볼 수 있습니다. 그러고 나서 이제 공식적으로 뭔가를 출시하거나 발표하거나 그렇게 되는 건데요. 이번에 물론 이제 누구나 사용할 수 있었지만 이것도 여전히 어떤 베타 테스트 단계다라고 보고 있었던 거고 이번에 문제가 있는지 없는지 잘 살펴봤으니 이제는 이제 now I guess after the beta testing now it's sort of going to be I guess I don't want to say officially out for everyone to use because it already kind of is, but it's no longer in the testing phase after this.
Okay.
자, 그래요. 그다음에 it showed a very strong response.
Yeah, I guess it means people liked it. If you receive a strong response for something, or I guess I would probably say a positive response, perhaps, opposed to a strong response, positive response. Yeah, people like it.
네, 아주 뜨거운 반응을 보였다라는 의미로, yeah, as we can see, 2 million people have used it, and I suppose they're enjoying using it, or at least, they're making use of it.
Ukrainian forces have punched through Russian defensive lines in southeast Ukraine in what may herald the start of a long-anticipated counteroffensive after 15 months of war.
우크라이나가 지난 15개월 동안 기다리며 예고해온 대반격의 시작을 알리며 러시아가 장악한 우크라이나 남동부 지역에서 격전을 벌이고 있다고 외신이 전했습니다. 자, 여기서 defensive라는 표현 나오고 그다음에 counter-offensive라는 표현이 나와서 defensive하고 offensive를 같이 봐도 좋을 것 같아요. Tell us more about these expressions.
So, defensive lines, this is where I always think about it in terms of sports, right?
Yeah.
This is your defense. This is in military situation. This is where you have your troops and your armament lined up to defend the territory, your territory, or in Russia's case, territory that they've won.
그렇죠. 그러니까 여기서 defensive line 수비 라인이고요. 그 다음에 counter offensive 할 때 offensive는 원래 이제 공격입니다. counter offensive니까 반격이 돼요.
Yeah, you can think of that as a pushback. So when you counter something, like in boxing, a counter puncher, some boxers are good. I've given this example so many times. It's when one boxer throws a punch, a counter puncher waits for that and then throws a punch in response,
그렇죠.
trying to catch them off guard. So a counter offensive is now they're going on the offense. They're going to try and take back some territory and push forward, break through those defensive lines.
네, counter라는 단어가 나오면 상응한다는 의미가 있기 때문에 펀치는 이제 선제 펀치가 되겠죠. counter punch는 반격하는 펀치가 됩니다. 그다음에 우리가 가끔 보면은 the president of A and his counterpart 이렇게 말하기도 하는데 A라는 국가의 대통령과 그다음에 상응하는 또 다른 나라의 국가 원수 이런 얘기할 때도 이 counter라는 단어를 쓰죠. 자, counter offensive는 그렇기 때문에 공격은 공격인데 반격입니다. 그러니까 먼저 공격을 받았어요. 그래서 하는 공격. 우리는 반격이라고 하는데 영어로는 counter offensive라고 하죠.
Right, because Ukraine's sort of been playing defense recently, trying to just hold their positions. Now they're going to push back. That's how I think of as pushback. Okay, it's like we've been playing defense long enough. Now it's time for us to put the pressure on them.
Exactly.
We're going to attack. We're going to try and take back some land. And when we say something is long anticipated, another phrase that was used in some other articles was long expected.
Yep.
People have been expecting this to happen for quite a long time. And interestingly enough, the Ukrainians have not said, yes, this is our counteroffensive.
No.
They haven't confirmed that.
네, 그렇습니다. 외신이 지금 이렇게 전하고는 있으나 우크라이나 측에서 뭐 반격을 했다라고 말하고 있는 건 아닙니다. Long antecipated라는 것은 오랫동안 기다려왔다 내지는 오랫동안 예고됐다라는 느낌으로 보시면 되겠고요. 다시 아까 defensive하고 offensive라는 두 단어를 놓고 우리가 스포츠를 생각한다면은 그때 수비와 공격, 보통 defense, offense 이렇게 얘기를 합니다. 형태가 약간 다르긴 하지만 같이 알아두시면 좋아요.
Japan has taken another step forward in preparing to release contaminated water or treated water, as the Japanese government calls it, from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. Pumping seawater into an undersea tunnel, according to local news outlets.
네, 일본 후쿠시마 제1원전 오염수의 방류 준비 다음 단계로 육지와 바다 양쪽에서 해저 터널 안으로 해수를 넣는 작업이 시작됐다고 일본 현지 언론이 전했습니다. Taking another step forward in a certain direction or in doing something means
You're making further progress. You haven't finished what you're doing, but you're taking another step. You're making more progress. You're checking something else off the list.
또 다른 이제 한 걸음을 나아가고 있다. Taking another step라고 했습니다. 그러니까 한 발 더 나아가고 있다라는 얘긴데요. 이미 진행이 되고 있기 때문에 더욱더 많은 진전이 있다라는 뜻으로 볼 수 있겠고 여기 영어로 보면 두 가지 표현이 나옵니다. Contaminated water, 오염수, or treated water as the Japanese government calls it.
Sounds better than contaminated.
네, 일본 측에서는 처리수라고 부르고 있으나 지금 외신에서는 오염수라고 얘기하면서 이 두 표현이 같이 쓰이고 있다. 이런 말이 영어로 나오고 있고요. 자, 그다음에 일본 현지 언론이 보도한 내용이기 때문에 전체적인 이제 그 뉴스가 It was according to local news outlets.
So when you read that in any newspaper, local part means in the country that you're talking about. So in this case, we're talking about Japanese newspapers or Japanese TV news channels, radio.
Yeah.
Radio as well. Any mass media that reports on the news.
네, 그래요. 언론 매체, news outlets, 뉴스를 전하는 그런 언론 매체인데 local이니까 현지. 여기서는 어떤 지역을 말하는 게 아니라 일본을 말하고 있는 겁니다.
Everyone knows all the local ones in Korea, right? You can Yonhap and Korean Herald and all the TV channels. Researchers have uncovered evidence that members of a mysterious archaic human species known as Homo naledi buried their dead and carved symbols on cave walls long before the earliest evidence of burials by modern humans.
인류의 초기종인 호모 날레디가 시신을 땅에 묻고 벽에 상징을 새겨 무덤 위치를 표시하기까지 했을 가능성이 있다는 연구 결과가 나왔습니다. 인류의 한 종이에요. It's a type of human species. 그런데 아주 오래된이란 뜻으로 archaic라고 하네요.
Archaic just means very, very, very old.
Very, very, very old.
Very old. They're very old type of humans. They're
그렇죠.
not the same as us, but similar.
그렇죠. 이렇게 우리가 뭐 동물의 종이나 아니면 뭐 식물의 종, 뭐 인류의 종 얘기할 때 그런 종류들을 다 species라고 하는데 archaic, human species, 아주 오래된 인류의 초기 종이라는 의미가 되겠고 and there's evidence of burials.
Right. So evidence means proof. You see something that gives you a clue that or supports a theory. That's what evidence is, right? You'll talk about evidence in
court.
in court all the time.
그렇죠. 법정에서 증거를 evidence라고 합니다. 또 다른 쉬운 말로 proof라고 할 수도 있는데요. evidence of burials라고 하면은 매장했다는 증거가 되겠습니다.
A report by the Korea Association of Colleges and Universities has shown that 8 out of 10 private universities outside of the capital area are facing operating deficits.
한국대학교육협의회가 내놓은 보고서에 따르면 국내 비수도권 사립대 10곳 중 8곳의 운영수지가 적자인 것으로 나타났습니다. 수도권과 비수도권 얘기를 좀 해야 될 것 같아요. Let's talk about 수도권, which is in English.
Seoul, yeah, the Seoul capital area, or I've also seen the Seoul metropolitan area. So that includes Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi-do.
그렇죠. 네. So I think a lot of people listening will obviously know which areas they encompass, but maybe are not sure how to say it in English.
Sure.
And there are several ways, as you said.
Right.
You could even say the larger capital area or the larger Seoul area.
Sure.
Many ways.
The greater Seoul area.
The greater Seoul area. 그러네요. 정말 많습니다. 이 수도권이라는 표현을 지금 우리가 얘기한 것만 해도 I think we mentioned 4 or 5 different terms just now.
Exactly.
굉장히 많네요. Seoul capital area, Seoul metropolitan area, the greater Seoul area 등등이 있습니다. 그런데 여기서는 비수도권이에요. So B meaning it's not that. And how can we say this in English?
I think the Sudakwon area has a larger population than
most of the
Australia.
country. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's almost more than Canada.
Oh,
I think
wow.
about 25 million, I think, something
It's a
like
lot,
that. I think.
Yeah. Well, Australia, they don't have a lot of people compared to the land.
Right. Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
it's
true.
just like around the coast. Yeah.
Exactly. 그러네요. 자, 그러면 비수도권이라고 했을 때는 사실은 이 수도권 바깥에 있는 곳들이다라고 표현을 여기서 한 거예요. So it's outside of the capital area.
Right. All areas outside of that.
그렇습니다. 네. 이렇게 표현을 해봤고요. 그다음에는 they are facing operating deficits.
So that means that they are spending more money than they're earning. So they're in the red. We talk about trade deficits or budget deficits. Anytime that you're spending more than you're bringing in, you're in a deficit. We also use it in sports too. If you're losing a game, so then
say there's a deficit?
you're in a deficit, right? We're in a deficit. We're down 2-0 because we've allowed more goals than we've scored.
스포츠에서도 이 적자라는 표현을 쓴다는 거 굉장히 흥미롭네요. I didn't know that actually. I thought this was strictly economical, but
Yeah, you'll hear it sometimes.
this
Commentators
team-
will say it.
This team is in deficit.
Yeah, they're in a deficit.
In a deficit. 이렇게 이 팀이 지금 적자에 적자 상태입니다. 이런 얘기를 하면은 지금 지고 있다 이런 의미랍니다. 자, 그래요. 적자라는 뜻으로 deficit가 나왔고 operating이니까 운영하는 데 있어서 들어가는 그런 운영 수지 적자가 되겠죠. 그것을 직면하고 있다. face.
The government has decided to make resident ID cards expire like driver's licenses, requiring them to be reissued after a certain period of time.
네, 정부가 주민등록증도 운전면허증처럼 유효기간을 둬서 일정 기한이 지나면 다시 발급받도록 하는 방안을 추진하기로 했습니다. Okay, so I nailed it this time.
Yeah, it's perfect. I was going to say, wow, what a read.
Thank you. So if you make something expire, what does that mean?
It means it only lasts for a certain period of time. So you'll see on cartons of milk, for example, an expiration date.
Yeah.
You better drink it before that or probably get sick. It won't be good. We're talking about things like ID cards. They're no longer valid. Your passport, your driver's license. In Canada, we have health cards to go and a health card to go to the doctor. But I have an old one that doesn't have my picture on it, so I don't have to get it updated. I don't have to. Mine doesn't expire.
Really?
Yeah, so it was the same kind of like we don't have resident IDs.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
maybe a Korean thing,
Yeah, it
or
is.
I don't know,
Yeah.
some other countries might have it too. So we use our driver's license or our health card as
Right.
ID. I can only use my Canadian driver's license because my health card doesn't have, it only has my name. It doesn't have anything else.
Interesting. 주민등록증이 없는 캐나다의 상황은 우리와 많이 다르군요. 자, 무언가가 만료가 된다라고 할 때 expire라고 할 수 있고, 우리가 물건이 아니면 뭐 음식 같은 게 언제까지 매장 안에서 진열이 될 수 있다라는 그 유통기한. 는 영어로 expiration date라고 하죠. Is the expiration date how long you can have it in the store or how long you should consume it by? Do you know? For example?
I've heard different things. I always thought it was to consume it by.
Okay.
It's like if I see like if it's past the expiration date on milk or something, I don't have it.
아, 그렇군요. 그러면은 뭐 유통기한보다 사용기한에 좀 더 가까울 수도 있겠네요. expiration date라는 표현이 외국에 상품에 많이 붙어 있습니다. 아니면 이렇게 써 있기도 해요. best before 그다음에 날짜. 그러면은 이때까지 사용하는 게 좋다. 그래서 이제 사용기한으로 주로 많이 쓰죠, 외국에서는. 우리나라도 최근에 이제 또 이렇게 바뀌었죠. In Korea in the past, we always used to have the date sort of the shelf life date, so it's only supposed to be on the store shelves.
My
by
wife and I
a certain date.
argue about this all the time.
But
because
from this year,
oh.
from this year, legally now all stores are supposed to have the best before date, so consumption, and so that's different. Of
That's
course.
why we always argue about that, because I
Yeah,
would
it
always
was
be
always
like, oh no,
confusing.
look, it says the date's passed, don't have it. And she's like, no, it doesn't mean that.
Yeah. She was right for the 유통기한, but nowadays we have.
She's wrong. Now she's wrong.
사용기한.
Finally.
자, 그래요. expire, 뭐 만료되다, 뭐 아니면 뭔가 이제 기한이 여기가 있다라는 얘기가 될 텐데. 주민등록증도 유효 기간을 두겠다는 겁니다. And so you have to reissue your 주민등록증.
Right, you'll have to go to the government
주민센터.
office, 주민센터,
Yeah.
and get a new one.
Yeah, exactly.
They will give it to you. So we've talked about using issue that way before, where it's kind of a formal term for some official documents.
Yeah.
You get a passport issued,
Yes.
that type of thing.
네, 발급받는다를 동사 issue를 써서 표현합니다.
Ukrainian officials have warned that the partial collapse of the Kakhovka Dam, one of the biggest in the world, could prove the country's worst ecological disaster since the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown.
네, 우크라이나 관리들은 세계 최대 규모의 댐 중 하나인 카호카 댐이 이번에 파괴됨으로써 체르노빌 원전 사태 이후 우크라이나 역사상 최악의 생태계 재앙이 닥칠 수 있다고 경고했습니다. This could be the worst ecological disaster Ukraine has seen in a while.
Yeah, ecological, environmental disaster.
Environmental disaster라고도 표현할 수 있는 ecological disaster, 생태계 재앙이죠. And if you think back a couple decades, there was the nuclear meltdown. Of course, Chernobyl is what we're talking about.
Right. There's a good TV show about that.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's a nuclear meltdown?
Well, in simple terms, it's when a reactor, it occurs when a reactor, the fuel in the reactor isn't being cooled properly, and then this leads to widespread release of radiation.
Right. A person could have a meltdown too, right? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, we use that a lot for kids too, like children. Like when I was in Canada, we would always talk about my friend's daughter. She was like 3 years old at the time. She would have a daily meltdown and just lose her mind.
So she would like suddenly cry.
Cry and have a temper tantrum. Like I think I've told this story before, where she had a meltdown at the zoo. We took her to the zoo.
It was that.
My wife and I realized it was probably our fault because we pumped her full of sugar in the morning because she wanted it. She wanted all the donuts. So we went to Tim Hortons and I was like, okay, I'm going to be the fun uncle and get you whatever you want. And then come lunchtime, she was, had a huge meltdown. It was hilarious.
had a huge meltdown.
I thought it was funny, but it's not my kid.
그래요. 영어로 이 meltdown이라는 것은 말 그대로 했을 때 여기서의 nuclear meltdown은 원자력 사고 내지는 원자로의 노심 융이 되겠습니다. melting down 해버린다라는 얘기인데 우리가 비유적으로 썼을 때는 사람의 감정 같은 게요. 이제 특히 아이들한테 많이 쓴다라는 설명을 해주셨어요. 갑자기 그냥 모든 게 무너지는 것처럼 와! 막 이러고 울면서 I want to have some sweets. I want this toy. 막 이런 거.
Whatever it is, yeah.
그런 것도 meltdown이라고
You just can't
했어요.
control. Think of melt, like when something melts, it gets too hot. And that's what, nuclear meltdown is. The reactor the fuel isn't being cooled properly. So you can think about it if you get really upset, you get really hot.
Yeah.
Usually you do, right? When you're angry, people's faces go red and they get really angry. They're having a meltdown.
Exactly.
The World Bank's growth outlook for the global economy this year has increased from 1.7% in January to 2.1%, but the bank has warned that global growth is still expected to decelerate from the 3.1% in 2022.
세계은행은 올해 세계 경제 성장률을 지난 1월 전망치 1.7%에서 2.1%로 상향 조정했으나 작년 성장률 3.1%보다는 여전히 약세일 것으로 내다봤습니다. Okay, so we're talking about numbers here, more specifically the growth outlook for the world.
An outlook is a projection. So we project things into the future, what we think is going to happen. So that's, the World Bank doesn't know for sure, but based on, it's an estimate.
Yeah.
Based on their research and their analysis, this is what they think growth will be. It's what they're projecting.
전망 또는 전망치가 될 텐데요. Outlook, estimate, projection 다 마찬가지입니다.
All of those words you'll see used interchangeably.
Absolutely. Now, although the growth outlook has gone up a little bit from a couple of months ago, still it's not quite as much as they said it might be last year. Is that what they're saying?
No, this means they're saying that what growth
what it
was
was
last year.
Uh-huh.
Right,
Okay,
right. So
okay.
Growth is expected to decelerate. Now, if in your car, when you're driving, the gas pedal is also called an accelerator. So you push that and you go faster. Now, you can guess that's an accelerator. What's a decelerator? There's no I guess your brake.
Yeah.
The brake is a decelerator, slows you down. So if we say that growth is expected to decelerate,
Right.
it means growth is expected to slow down. And as it is, so it was 3.1 last year, they're expecting now 2.1. So a whole percentage point less growth.
작년에 실제 이제 경제 성장률이었던 3.1%보다는 올해 세계 경제 성장률이 그거보다는 낮을 것으로 전망이 된다. 그러나 1월 달에 생각했던 것보다는 또 현재는 조금 더 긍정적으로 보는 거죠. 1.7% 예상했다가 지금은 이제 2.1% 정도로 경제 성장률이 올해 이제 그런 수치가 나올 것 같다라는 얘기입니다.
Prince Harry has launched a fierce attack on what he calls the vile press for destroying his adolescence and later relationships, becoming the first senior British royal to appear in a witness box in more than a century.
네. 영국의 해리 왕자가 법정에서 자신의 사춘기 및 이후의 인간관계를 망가뜨린 책임을 물으며 비열하다는 표현과 함께 언론을 맹공격했습니다. 영국 왕실 인사가 법정 증인석에 선 것은 130년 만에 처음 있는 일입니다. 자, 그래요. 공격을 했다. 맹공격을 했다. He's launched a fierce attack.
Yeah, on the vile press that he called. So
Yeah.
if you say something is vile, you mean it's nasty,
Really nasty.
horrible, right? Just kind of disgusting.
그래요.
you say?
이 vile이라는 게 quotation 안에 들어있는데 해리 왕자가 직접 쓴 표현입니다. 그러니까 프레스에 대해서 정말 끔찍한, vile한 press 이렇게 얘기를 하는 거죠.
Press meaning media. I think most people
Of
know
course.
that.
그렇죠.
And he launched this fierce attack, very strong, right? Like we've seen fierce attacks in Ukraine from both sides.
He's
right?
not holding back.
He's not holding back.
He's not
He is-
saying, I think, or they did this a little bit. No.
No, he is really he's going hard in the paint.
He is. And this is the first time in a long time that a British royal has appeared in a witness box.
That's I'm sure most people have seen this on TV or on movies when the person is giving a testimony where they sit.
Yes.
It's usually beside the judge in a little box.
이 법정 증인석을 witness box라고 합니다.
Smoke from hundreds of wildfires in Canada has spread to the US East Coast and Midwest, leaving nearly 100 million people, or 1/3 of the US population, with health concerns.
캐나다 산불로 발생한 연기가 미국 동부 해안과 중서부 지역까지 퍼지면서 미국 인구의 3분의 1가량인 1억여 명의 주민들이 건강을 우려해야 할 상황에 놓였습니다. 지금 하늘이 오렌지색으로 변했다라고 합니다. 저도 사진을 봤는데요. 깜짝 놀랐습니다. 이게 노을 지는 하늘이 아니라 이 산불로 인한 오염된 그 잿빛 하늘이라고도 볼 수 있겠고 뭐 회색인 곳도 있지만 뿌옇게 주황색으로 변해 있더라고요. It has spread from Canada across the border to the US East Coast and Midwest.
Yes, if something spreads, well, it's moving out and around and about. Rather than talk about fires, let's talk about breakfast.
Yes.
And let's talk about toast and what you spread on your toast.
Love toast.
So, for example, first you spread the butter. So you don't just put it in one place. No, you take your knife and you move it all over the top of the toast. And then you take your jam. Raspberry, please. And you spread it, leaving you move it around the whole area. So when we think of spread, it's not just going in one line, in one thin direction. It's moving widely over a large area. In this case, we're seeing, this smoke heading not just to New York, but also way down to North Carolina.
Exactly. And what do you like to spread on your toast?
Raspberry jam and butter every
Raspberry
time.
jam.
It's difficult to get here, but when I can get it, there is nothing quite like raspberry jam.
Aha. I'm more of a traditional strawberry jam person.
Nothing wrong with strawberry. Strawberry's good too.
Yeah.
The main thing is it should be chunky.
Yes.
My jam must be chunky. I don't want none of that jelly. I want proper jam.
네, 여러분은 토스트에다가 뭐를 발라 먹는 걸 좋아하시나요? 이거 바르다 할 때 spread 씁니다. 이 spread가 명사로 쓰일 수도 있고요. 바르는 것이라고 해서 뭐 그런 잼이나 이런 것들 말할 수도 있는데, 자, spread가 이렇게 뭔가 널리 퍼지다의 의미가 있어요. 우리가 빵 위에다가 버터를 그냥 가운데다가 덜렁 놓는 건 아니잖아요. 구석구석 잘 발라야 되겠죠. 여기저기 퍼지게. 자, 그런데 여기서는 지금 캐나다의 산불로 인해서 그 연기가 미국까지 여기저기 퍼졌다.
네.
이런 의미로 보면 되겠죠. 굉장히 안타깝습니다. 자, 그다음에 leaving about 100 million people, or 1/3 of the US population, with health concerns.
Yes, so health concerns means worries about your health. In the same way that when we have bad fine dust days, there are health concerns. We say that the elderly, the young, or those with illnesses shouldn't go out and about. That's the health concerns. The expression here to leave someone or something with something means you have it or you get it after something occurs or something arrives. So in this case, we're talking about the smoke is leaving us with the health concerns. For example, at the end of the show, Sue may leave me with a question for next week. She wants the answer by next Friday. I'm like, okay, I'll think about it, give you an answer then. So we have this leave someone with something. We use this a lot in English to say that, well, we've got this, and then because of that, we have this.
무언가를 제가 던져주는 거죠. Leave you with something.
Yeah.
이 경우에는 캐나다의 산불이 이제 미국 여기저기에 퍼지면서 많은 사람들로 하여금 이런 걱정을 하게끔 그런 상황에 놓이게 만들었다. 그래서 그 놓이다가 leave고요. health concerns는 건강에 대한 우려가 되겠습니다. 한두 명이 아니라 1억 명 정도가 미국의 전체 인구의 한 3분의 1 정도입니다. 상당히 많은 지금 미국 시민들이 건강을 우려해야 되는 상황에 놓여졌다. This has left many people in America with health concerns.
The OECD and Ukraine have signed a 4-year partnership agreement to support the country's reform, recovery and reconstruction.
경제협력개발기구 OECD가 우크라이나의 개혁, 재건, 복원을 돕는 4년짜리 국가 지원 프로그램을 가동하는 데 우크라이나와 함께 서명했습니다. 사인했군요.
Yes, meaning it's done and dusted. An agreement like a contract, once you sign it, it's all over, it's finished. It's 100% agreed. And it's a partnership agreement, meaning it's not nobody's the boss, nobody's the employee or the contractor. They're working together.
Exactly. It's done and dusted. Done and dusted. This means it's complete. 그래서 서명을 했기 때문에 뭔가 이렇게 땅땅땅 한 그런 느낌이죠. 네. 그리고 여기서 4년짜리 partnership agreement라고 표현을 하고 있습니다. 자, 그다음에는 이 세 단어 같이 한번 볼게요. 우리말로는 개혁, 재건, 복원, reform, recovery, reconstruction. They all begin with re.
They do,
Yeah.
and it's basically to make better again. All of them are about improvement of some kind.
그러네요.
So we talk about reform is to make changes and make changes
Yeah.
for the better. When we use it for a person, for example, we talk about a reformed prisoner. A reformed character is someone who maybe used to be not very nice
Yeah.
or bad in some way, but has changed their ways or changed their mindset or their attitude to a better one. For a country, it's about making the country better, looking at maybe the laws, the regulations, and improving them. Recovery is when, well, things have been bad and you want to make them better again.
Yep.
So in terms of your health, if you're ill, well, I wish that you will make a swift recovery, meaning recover back to health again. And reconstruction, well, that's simply rebuilding. We've seen what missile strikes have done. I mean, this past week with the dam being destroyed.
In Ukraine, yeah.
There's a lot of reconstruction needed. Ukraine needs to rebuild, and hopefully the OECD can help.
네, 사람한테 쓰느냐 아니면은 다른 상황에 쓰느냐에 따라 좀 다르게 해석을 할 수 있는데요. reform 같은 경우에 여기는 개혁입니다. 그러나 이제 뭐 한 차례 수감됐었던 수감자들의 경우에는 선생님이 지금 예를 아까 들어주셨죠. 교화된 사람한테 a reformed prisoner라고 얘기할 수 있고요. 자, 그다음에 이제 recovery 같은 경우는 재건인데 만약에 우리 몸이 아팠다. 그러면 이제 회복이 되겠죠. I've recovered. reconstruction은 그냥 reconstruction입니다. 복원이에요.
Hawaii's Kilauea volcano has begun erupting and spewing lava, prompting officials to raise the alert level for one of the most active volcanoes in the world to red for warning.
미국 지질조사국 하와이 화산 관측소는 하와이 킬라우에 화산에 용암 분출과 폭발이 시작되면서 경계 수준을 경고로 발령하고 항공 기상 코드를 적색으로 상향했습니다. 자, 이 화산이요. It is spewing lava.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So to spew something means to eject something with force. I don't want to upset anyone, but it's another word, another meaning for to vomit, to spew. Wayne's World made it famous. Garth in Wayne's World back in the 90s, if you want to spew, spew into this, holding a little paper cup. But what it gives us is that image of very fast and very energetic. There's not just a dribble of lava. We're talking about lava being thrown out of the volcano.
그렇죠. 이 화산에서 용암이 분출된 것인데 그거를 spew했다라고 얘기합니다. 이 spew의 또 다른 의미는 구토하다가 될 수 있는데요. 화산의 모습을 상상하시면 되겠고. Raising the alert level to red for warning.
Yes, if you're raising the alert level, well, you're taking it up a notch, meaning it's more dangerous, meaning there's more danger of some kind. In this case, it's gone to red, which is often the color we use to mean, oh dear, this really is serious.
네, 경계 수준을 이제 적색으로 상향 조정했다라는 것이고 이 적색이 의미하는 것은 warning이래요. 그러니까 이제 경계 수준 자체를 경고로 올렸다라는 겁니다.
Scientists have documented the first known instance of a virgin birth by a female crocodile, which was able to produce a fully formed fetus that was 99.9% genetically identical to her, despite living in isolation for 16 years.
자, 암컷 악어가 수컷 악어 없이 스스로 임신해 알을 낳는 단성 생식이 처음으로 발견됐습니다. 이 악어는 약 16년간 다른 악어와 분리된 채 홀로 지냈으며 알 속의 새끼는 어미 악어와 유전적으로 99.9% 일치한 것으로 확인됐습니다. Very interesting. This is the first known instance of this. Right?
Yes. An instance is something that happens, an occasion, a happening of some sort. And first known meaning it may have happened before, but it's the first time we are aware of it. The first time it's been reported by scientists.
그렇죠.
So it's quite exciting.
첫 번째로 보고된 사례입니다. And the baby crocodile is almost 100%, 99.9% genetically identical to its mother.
Yes, and if you are genetically identical, you have the same genes. So identical twins, I would think, will be almost genetically identical. Maybe not 100%, but close to it.
네, 이 genes 유전자, 그러니까 GENES인데 발음이 청바지랑 똑같아서 외국에서 이 단어를 처음 생물 시간에 배울 때 학생들이 이거 가지고 많이 선생님한테 선생님 이거 유전자예요? 청바지예요? 막 이러면서 장난 많이 치죠.
네.
예, genes 그게 이제 유전자인데 genetically 그럼 유전적으로가 되겠습니다. identical 일치한다.
The Edinburgh International Festival, now in its 76th year, has revealed its Focus on Korea program to celebrate the 140th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the UK and the Republic of Korea.
올해 제76회를 맞는 에든버러 인터내셔널 페스티벌에서 한국과 영국 수교 140주년을 기념하는 Focus on Korea 프로그램이 마련됐습니다. All right. Well, let's have a look at the expression here. This is the Edinburgh Festival now in its 76th year.
Yes, so if someone or something is in the nth year, it means that's how long they've been going, or that's how old they are. I'm in my 45th year, I think.
Okay.
So, which means the Edinburgh Festival, International Festival, has been running for 76 years. This is the 76th year it has been on.
네, 그렇습니다. 에든버러 페스티벌이 올해 76회를 맞이한다라는 뜻으로 It is in its 76th year라고 얘기를 했고요. 자, 그 다음에는 이제 한국과 영국 수교 140주년입니다. 올해가. 물론 여기 영어에서는 Republic of Korea라고 써 있어서 엄밀히 말하면 그냥 Korea라고 해야 돼요. 왜냐하면 Republic of Korea 된 지가 이렇게 140년이 되지 않았으니까.
네.
그렇지만 그냥 뭐 지금의 우리나라 기준으로 이렇게 쓴 것 같아요. 이런 기사들이 있어서 저희가 좀 이제 표현들을 가져와 봤는데 엄밀히 따지자면 어쨌든 이제 한국과 영국, Korea and the UK, diplomatic ties 얘긴데요. Diplomatic relations were established 140 years ago. 이 표현 보겠습니다.
Meaning they began. If something is established, or we have the establishment of something, that's when it started. EBS's morning special was established
25 years ago.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
Or was the anniversary last year?
Actually, 26.
Yes, it's 26.
2023년이군요.
Yes.
제가 매해 몇
I know,
년도인지 깜빡해요.
I was thinking, hang on, when was the anniversary? When did we celebrate? 26 years. So
맞아요.
the establishment of
97년도에
EBS's morning special 26 years ago, for example, means that's when it started. Here, diplomatic relations, meaning, you know, a friendly relationship between the two countries in terms of diplomats and establishing embassies and so on and so forth.
Yes, exactly. Diplomatic relations는 외교 관계가 되겠고요. 그것이 수립이 됐다라고 할 때 established 라고 할 수 있습니다.